just to recap, LeBron thinks it's whack.
LeBron's wrong. Didn't think I'd say that this morning.
Never thought you'd ever say that sentence. If there was any doubt about best team versus best record, LeBron James erased it all last night. Best record in the East, the Toronto Raptors, but are they the best team? Cavs don't think so. After allowing a season-high 79 points in the first half and trailing by 15 to the Raptors, LeBron and the Cavaliers took over. They beat the top seed in the East. LeBron had 35 points. He had 17 assists. He turned the ball over 0 times. So was it a statement game for LeBron? Take a listen.
No. It's a good win for us just because how depleted we are with our roster and everything that's been going on. It's a good win for us versus a very good opponent. But I don't need to remind anybody what my teams are capable of doing. So that wasn't a factor.
That was a great transition from LeBron there. I don't need to remind anyone what my team is capable of. But he was getting it right the first time. Go
Sarah,
ahead,
how meaningful was this game for both teams on both sides?
I don't typically take a lot of stock in the regular season, but there was a lot of things that jumped off the page at me about this game. First of all, in Toronto, they've had a schedule in which it's pretty compacted right now. They played 7 of 11, but they had their full roster available for them for the most part. They were playing the players who they are going to rely on throughout the playoffs. The only player didn't
play C.J. Miles. He played the night before in Orlando. The only one. Yes, and they held him out of that.
And he's a big part of the bench.
Yes.
But for the Cavs, they're still missing Tristan Thompson, still without Rodney Hood.
Yeah, it's lopsided as far as what they had available and what Cleveland had missing.
And their ability, I mean, the Cavs, with what LeBron can do, he's been playing at otherworldly level, but the question is, can the other guys around him fill in the gaps? Kevin Love and his return and how flawlessly he has been able to fit in, what we expected for him to open up the floor for LeBron, for his teammates, was entirely evident. And to me, Toronto, we've been talking about them being in the top 5 in offense and top 5 in defense. The fact that they couldn't stop this Cavaliers team at all. I mean, you got a Cleveland team that's shooting 60% from the field, over 60% from the 3. Toronto wasn't able to turn them over and create points off of turnovers, which is a lot of what their offense have been predicated on, generating it through the defense. And for Toronto, I think the big thing is going to be that mental hurdle. We talk about the bench. How is this bench and young players going to perform in the playoffs? I'm less concerned about that because I see a lot of confidence in that bench area. Kyle Lowry, DeMar DeRozan, how much is that talk, that chatter going to slip into their minds about what they have not been able to do in previous postseasons and if this will be different?
This was, no matter how you slice it, the worst case scenario that didn't involve injury for the Toronto Raptors. You come into a game where Cleveland, it's not just that they're missing 5 guys. 4 of the top 8 playoff rotation are out. Nance, Thompson, Hood, Korver. That's 4 of your top 8. They're out. You're about as healthy as any team in the league right now. You just gave CJ the night off. You have a 15-point lead at the half, in a half where the Cavs look disinterested defensively. Can't execute anything. One of the best offensive halves in the history of your young franchise. And you lose? You lose like that? You lose where LeBron is late in the game saying, okay, Pascal Siakam, you're the best answer. The whole reason this team went and paid, not salary-wise, but paid in a trade, overpaid for Serge Ibaka, was because he's supposed to be able to check me. Well, he can't, so Pascal Siakam, you come try. And that guy actually did a halfway decent job on it. I'll give him credit. He bodied him somewhat.
Yes, he did.
But the response there is, okay, you're going to play halfway decent defense. I'll collapse the defense and hit guys for open threes. The Cavs hit 15 threes last night. LeBron hit 1. He assisted on 11 others. So it wasn't just 17 assists. It was 17 assists, 11 of which went for 3. The biggest hurdle the Raptors have with Cleveland, aside from they don't have LeBron, is a mental one. And last night, to me, was worse than losing by 25. Last night was it compounded that mental hurdle even further.
Yeah, I got to disagree with you as far as losing by 25, because when you watch the film today, there are things that they're going to be able to take from the game that they'll be pleased with. Like, they're right there in the game. They shoot 3 of 16 the second half from three-point. They shot 18% from three-point. So if they just shoot a decent percentage, all right?
In the second half?
Yes, they're going to win the game or at least be in the game and it'll probably be a buzzer beater. But they're going to shoot typically better than that. How the bench players played, I think, is encouraging. Fred VanVleet, like, this dude is a player. He is a main rotation. Like, y'all can say what you want, like he hadn't played in the playoffs, but man, this dude can play some basketball. And they figured out the rotation where he's going to be in there at the end of the game. I think that is a plus. From a negative standpoint, they went right back to where they have been the last 3 or 4 years. When it got crucial and they needed a bucket, what did they do? They stopped moving the ball the way they had been moving the ball all season, and they started going ISO with DeMar DeRozan for him to be able to clear out. The same way that they've gotten beaten in the playoffs is by, in the fourth quarter, going ISO basketball. So it is better, and they will learn from this, but they need to be able to keep their style. Run their bench players because they have a tremendous advantage over any NBA team. Right now, since February 1st, their bench is averaging 47 points a game. Now, that is an asset. I didn't tally it up last night because of the poor shooting. I thought the poor shooting was more important to talk about. And I believe that bench, as Casey said, there's no book to playing in the playoffs. There's no one said you can't play 10 players in the playoffs. That's what I plan to do. So I believe that there are certain things that you can take from this. And VanVleet playing at the end of the games, he is a name that people should get accustomed to because he has really improved. In his second year out of Wichita State, last year spent some time in the G League. It's really one of the promising stories, and I believe he will be part of the storyline as we get into the playoffs.
Agree with that.
Go ahead, Jenna.
Look, they don't win this game if LeBron James doesn't have one of the most perfect games of the season. They're missing 5 guys. The coach isn't there. I mean, he needed to step up and carry the team. You got production out of George Hill. You got production out of Kevin Love. But this came down to what he's going to do. And can he do it every single game for every game of the series?
In every playoff series, and this is going back years, coaches will always say, we understand that LeBron will single-handedly win you at least one game in the playoffs, at times 2. What can the rest of the players do? But I think LeBron is continuing to show, as often as teams have always game planned against him, of make him a shooter, make him a scorer, don't allow him to facilitate. This season, he's showing that he could do both. He could put up massive numbers with his own production and scoring, also facilitate for teammates. And so to me, it's about his confidence. You could tell he is in a different area where his headspace is at, and now those guys seem to be feeding in. And I think you can't understate the importance of Kevin Love.
Cece, to build on the point you said, DeMar DeRozan, in the second half, he's 1 of 6 from the field. And the one shot he made, by the way, was a bizarre, and there's another question with the Raptors. Is Dwayne Casey come to the playoffs? I like Dwayne Casey as a head coach. But when you're down 3 with 10 seconds left, and the play you draw up is a contested mid-range 2, that's the one shot DeMar DeRozan made in the second half. That's concerning as well. Go ahead.
That on top of the fact that Dwayne Casey, and I love the idea that he thinks there's no rule book. I can play 10, 11 guys. I can go deep in my. That's tough on a coach. It's challenging because when you get into a playoff situation, more possession basketball, everything counts. Now there's more responsibility on you of who you are putting in the game and more scrutiny on the type of lineups you're putting forward.
Sarah, where are you heading today?
Toronto. My next 2 games are Toronto and Cleveland. So
it's a shame you really got the dredge of the Eastern Conference. Sarah, as always, thank you so much for hanging out with us. Coming up, we're about to see a new and improved Des Bryant next season. That's next on First Things First.
I might see Sarah Sunday, the Cavs game. Cavs next.
Yeah, you need some tickets?